This archive contains the source code of VeraCrypt. It is based on the original TrueCrypt 7.10 with security enhancements and modifications. Important: you may use the source code contained in this archive only if you accept and agree to the license terms contained in the file license.txt, which is included in this archive. Note that the license specifies, for example, that a derived work must not be called TrueCrypt or VeraCrypt. Contents: Windows 2, Linux and Mac OS X3, FreeBSD and OpenBSD, IV. Third-party developers, contributors, view legal information. 6. Further information, Windows. Requirements for building VeraCrypt for Windows. A detailed guide on how to build VeraCrypt on Windows can be found in the documentation in the repository, and it is also available online or on the Mirror. Important: the 64-bit editions of Windows Vista and later versions of Windows, and in some cases, such as playback of HD DVD content, also the 32-bit editions do not allow the VeraCrypt driver to run without an appropriate digital signature. Therefore, all size files in official VeraCrypt binary packages are digitally signed with the digital certificate of the IDRIX, which was issued by Global Sign Certification Authority. At the end of each official .exend size file, there are embedded digital signatures and all related certificates, such as the Certification Authority certificates, the CA-MIS-CRA certificate, and the IDRIX certificate. Keep this in mind if you compile VeraCrypt and compare your binaries with the official binaries. If your binaries are unsigned, the sizes of the official binaries will usually be approximately 10 KB greater than the sizes of your binaries. There may be further differences if you use a different version of the compiler, or if you install a different or no service pack for Visual Studio, or different hotfixes for it, or if you use different versions of the required SDKs. Instructions for signing and packaging VeraCrypt for Windows. First, create an environment variable WSDK81 pointing to the Windows SDK for Windows 8.1 installation directory. The folder signing contains a batch file sign.bat that will sign all VeraCrypt components using a code signing certificate present on the certificate store and build the final installation setup and MSI package. The batch file assumes that the code signing certificate is issued by Global Sign. This is the case for IDRIX's certificate. If yours is issued by another CA, then you should put its intermediate certificates in the signing folder and modify sign.bat accordingly. To generate MSI packages, WIX toolset v3.11 must be installed. VeraCrypt EFI bootloader. VeraCrypt source code contains pre-built EFI binaries under SRC boot EFI. The source code of VeraCrypt EFI bootloader is licensed under LGPL, and it is available at the VeraCrypt DCS repository. For build instructions, please refer to the file src boot EFI readme txt. 2. Linux and Mac OS X. A detailed guide on how to build VeraCrypt on Linux can be found in the documentation in the repository, and it is also available online or on the Mirror. Requirements for building VeraCrypt for Linux and Mac OS X. GNU, make GNU C++ compiler 4.0 or compatible Apple Xcode or Xcode command line tools, Mac OS X only, YASM 1, 3, 0 or newer, Linux only, x86/x64 architecture only. PKG config WX widgets 3.0 shared library and header files installed or WX widgets 3.0 library source code, Fuse library and header files PCSC Lite library and header files. Instructions for building VeraCrypt for Linux and Mac OS X. 1. Change the current directory to the root of the VeraCrypt source code. 2. If you have no WX widgets shared library installed, run the following command to configure the WX widget static library for VeraCrypt and to build it. Make static equals 1 WX root equals USRSRC WX widgets wix build. The variable WX root must point to the location of the source code of the WX widgets library. Output files will be placed in the .wx release directory. 3. To build VeraCrypt, run the following command. Make, or if you have no WX widgets shared library installed, make static equals 1. 4. If successful, the VeraCrypt executable should be located in the directory main. Reproducible build note. When source date epoch is not set, a build from a git checkout uses the head commit timestamp, while a build from a release tarball uses the release date in src comment defs h at 0:100 hours UTC. To reproduce official release artifacts from a git checkout, set source date epoch explicitly or build from the release tarball. Vendor VeraCrypt sources tracked in another git checkout are treated the same way and use the checkout head timestamp. Both the generated, deb and RPM packages are reproducible, including on older RPM that lacks the source date epic build macros. By default, a universal executable supporting both graphical and text user interface through the switch, text is built. On Linux, a console-only executable, which requires no GUI library, can be built using the NOGUI parameter. Make NOGUI equals 1 static equals 1 WX root equals USRSRC WX widgets wix build. Make NOGUI equals 1 static equals 1. Arch Linux package build. Arch Linux users can build and install a package from the current checkout with MacApp. CDSRC build packaging Arch MacApp C. On Mac OS X, building a console-only executable is not supported. Mac OS X specifics. Under Mac OS X, the latest installed SDK is used by default. To use a different version of the SDK when building using Make, you can export the environment variable VCOSX SDK. Export VCOSX SDK equals 13.0. For development dependencies management, you can use Homebrew. Brew install pkg config YASM works widgets. You also need system dependencies. Brew install cask MacFuse packages. After installing dependencies via Brew, you can build a local development build, src build VeraCrypt macasks shb. If you want to build a package, you must pass p to the build script above. The build executable will be in src main. If you prefer to build from sources, or without Homebrew, pkg config and packages must be installed. Get pkg config from the releases page and compile using the following commands. CFLAGS equals WNOINT conversion flags equals WNOINT conversion.configure. With internal glib make sudo make install. After making sure pkg config is available, download and install MacFuse from the MacFuse site. The build VeraCrypt macasks sh script performs the full build of VeraCrypt including the creation of the installer pkg. It expects to find the WX widgets 3, 2, 5 sources at the same level as where you put VeraCrypt sources. The make build process uses code signing certificates whose ID is specified in src main make. You'll have to modify these lines to put the ID of your code signing certificates or comment them out if you don't have one. Because of incompatibility issues with MacFuse, the SDK 10.9 generates a VeraCrypt binary that has issues communicating with the MacFuse kernel extension. Thus, we recommend using a different Mac OS SDK version for building VeraCrypt. The packages installer that is used for the VeraCrypt official build has been notarized by Idrix and it is available at the packages releases page. 3. FreeBSD and OpenBSD. FreeBSD is supported starting from version 14. OpenBSD is supported starting from version 7.8. The build requirements and instructions are the same as Linux, except that make should be used instead of make. IV. Third-party developers, contributors. If you intend to implement a feature, please contact us first to make sure that the feature has not been implemented. We may have already implemented it, but haven't released the code yet. That the feature is acceptable. Whether we need the help of third-party developers with implementing the feature. Information on how to contact us can be found at VeraCrypt JP or VeraCrypt.io. Mirror. View legal information. Copyright information. This software as a whole. Copyright 2026 AM Crypto. All rights reserved. Portions of this software. Copyright 2026 AM Crypto. All rights reserved. Copyright 20,132,025 Idrix. All rights reserved. Copyright 20,032,012 TrueCrypt Developers Association. All rights reserved. Copyright 19,982,000 Paul LaRue. All rights reserved. Copyright 19,982,008 Brian Gladman, Worcester, UK. All rights reserved. Copyright 19,952,023 Gene Lupgailey and Mark Adler. Copyright 2016 Disk Cryptography Services for EFIDCS. Alex Kolotnikov. Copyright 19,992,023 Dieter Baron and Thomas Klausner. Copyright 2013, Alexei Digtyarev. All rights reserved. Copyright 19,992,016 Jack Lloyd. All rights reserved. Copyright 20,132,019 Stefan Muller. Copyright 19,992,023 Igor Pavlov. For more information, please see the legal notices attached to parts of the source code. Trademark information. Any trademarks contained in the source code, binaries, and documentation are the sole property of their respective owners. 6. Further information. VeraCrypt JP VeraCrypt.io, Mirror.